I'm here at the Miles Franklin Precious Metals booth at the 2018 Sprott Natural Resources Symposium. I'm joined by the president and owner, Andy Schectman. Andy, great to have you here today.
Hey, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Well, first and foremost, we're seeing quite an interesting market when it comes to commodities, in particular precious metals. So for investors out there, why precious metals?
They're undervalued. They're on sale right now. They're cheap. And I think that people make too many mistakes in terms of accumulating assets that have already been validated, that have already increased in value. And right now, precious metals are as cheap and inexpensive and, quite frankly, undervalued as any time I've seen them in the last 30 years.
And I understand that you used to play baseball way back then, so if you had to take a look at the precious metals market and tell some baseball fans out there what we're seeing, what would you actually say?
Well, you know, I think using a baseball analogy or using any sports analogy, pretty much the object of any game where there's an opponent, where there are two sides, is to misdirect the opponent. To misdirect the opponent in the case of baseball through throwing different pitches or different defenses or what have you. But in the case of the precious metals market, I would really define it as misdirection. And I say that to you because the price has been directed lower, and I would argue that it's been directed lower by perhaps entities such as J.P. Morgan, who have the largest short position on the COMEX market, driven the paper prices much, much lower, but at the same time as they've created a perception of reality by misdirecting the price, they've amassed north of 800 million ounces of physical silver and 20 million ounces of physical gold in their house account. That's north of $40 billion worth of product. And when you look at very, very big money misdirecting the public into a perception of reality that commodities are bad, yet at the same time accumulating as much as they possibly can, I find that as a really, really encouraging. So to me, misdirection would be the buzzword, I guess, and I find that encouraging, that I take solace in the fact that the most sophisticated, well-funded, well-informed traders on the globe are amassing enormous positions in gold and silver when the rest of us are being misdirected in elsewhere.
So perhaps this is a great buying opportunity.
I really do believe that. You know, Rick Rule, who is running this show here, is a big fan of saying buy things when they're on sale, buy things when they're cheap, and it truly is. In terms of just about every metric, things are really cheap right now. They're on sale. They're undervalued, and so yeah, absolutely.
Well, Andy, I think it's always better when you can buy at the bottom, but I do want to learn more about your business model at Miles Franklin. So could you shed light on that?
Well, our business model is one of education. It is one of transparency. We sell precious metals. We help people store it with our Brinks accounts in Canada. And we're also very, very excited to launch our new company, Sovereign Bullion International, which is a joint venture between Miles Franklin and North American Bullion Exchange in an effort to launch the new Tradewind VaultChain product that Sprott is part of. It's something that we believe will revolutionize the direction of the precious metals market, disintermediate so much of the noise and the friction in between. So between traditional forms of taking possession of physical metal in your home, storing it in a vault like this in Brinks in Canada, or taking the next step into the future, into the blockchain and the VaultChain program through Tradewind, we're really excited and always happy to help educate people and teach them every step of the way.
And Andy, I think one thing that's very unique about Miles Franklin when it comes to storage is that they don't have to purchase from Miles Franklin to store. Is that right?
Done your homework, I see. I'm glad you say that. Yes, we're one of the few companies who will take metal already purchased and have it stored for whether it be our safe deposit box program, which is in North America the only one in a secured facility, armored facility, the only one in North America, or our regular storage program with Brinks, which is just in a vault. Doesn't have to be purchased from us ever. That's something that we built into the program that's pretty unique.
And last but not least, before we wrap it up, if there are any novice investors out there who want to dip their toes into investing in physical gold or silver, what tidbits do you have in terms of advice?
Sure. Stick with American or Canadian made products. If you do such, you'll always be okay. And do a little due diligence on the people you buy from. This is a federally non-regulated industry. There's been a lot of fraud in this industry over the last couple of years. Miles Franklin is very proud of the fact that in 29 years we've never had a customer complaint, ever, not one. You can spend all day on Google, you won't find it. But Minnesota, where we're located, is the only state in America that is regulating this federally non-regulated precious metals industry. We're licensed, we're bonded, we're background checked. The moral of the story is in the last 3 years, we've seen 3 companies disappear with almost $200 million worth of client money. They were the real inexpensive online retailers. Price isn't always the bottom line important factor in working with a gold company. Reputation is. So start there and then stick with American or Canadian made products. That's like Pepsi and Coke. You can't go wrong.
Okay, Andy, well, thank you. I think there are a lot of important lessons as well as insights there. So thanks so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.